Welcome and welcome back to The Stash. Join us today as we go over the latest issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. We are now somehow up to number 39 and the gang war is now in full effect. But before we get into that, we are nearing 700 subscribers. I generally can't thank you guys all enough. The fact that we even passed 500 subs still hasn't properly processed yet. So if you enjoy Spidey and comic content, feel free to stick around and maybe hit that subscribe button. Okay, now in case you've missed the previous videos, I'll quickly go over a recap of the last few issues. Former Mayor Wilson Fisk passed a law prohibiting superheroes like Spider-Man, and current Mayor Luke Cage can't repeal it. The super gangs of New York City have taken advantage and share a delicate balance of power. That balance was upset when Tombstone was shot at his daughter's wedding. Hammerhead made his move during the chaos and killed Madame Mask, and Tombstone's daughter the Beetle rushed to take care of her comatose father and tend to his criminal territory. The groom-to-be was Randy Robertson, whom the violence spurred on to campaign against Fisk law. Hammerhead continued to play the other bosses against each other to secure his power and had Randy Robertson, son of the Daily Bugle editor Robbie Robertson, shot to stop the repeal movement's momentum. Hammerhead was then beaten to a pulp by a very alive Madame Mask. With Hammerhead out of the way, a gang war has erupted and all of New York City is in chaos. Now our story begins with civilians of New York trying to escape the battlefield they now see themselves placed in. Wanting to be as resourceful as possible, the Ringmaster uses the opportunity to hypnotize civilians to become a part of his army for the gang war as he goes up against AIM and the Crime Master. However, they are very unaware of the several pairs of eyes watching them closely from above. We see Spider-Man has that team he asked for from Luke Cage. I present to you well, they don't have a name. The leader of the team who gets belittled by everyone and is basically just there is the Amazing Spider-Man. The powerhouse of the team is She-Hulk. The randomly angsty teenager is Miles, who is still pissed off at Peter for literally no reason. The other angsty, I don't want to be here type of hero is Spider-Woman. And last but definitely least, we have the person who constantly shows up Spider-Man, Elektra. But I guess Marvel made her Daredevil now? Jeez, they must be bored. Anyway, like I said, Daredevil shows up Spidey literally within 2 seconds as they join in on the fight. The team of heroes swiftly deal with the Crime Master, AIM, and the Ringmaster, and Spider-Man gets shown up by Elektra again while they try to decide on their strategy. Miles wants to take on the Hobgoblin, and Peter tries to give him a careful warning about how dangerous he can be, which I think is valid considering he's dealt with him for a good, several decades now. But according to Miles, I've been doing just fine without you.
Right.
We switch scenes to see the White Rabbit is now cornered by, what's her face? Oh, fuck. Seriously, I can't remember. I think it's Mariah or something. I don't really care. Anyway, Lady Beetle bursts through as she's now taken over her dad since he's been in the hospital and makes an example out of Mariah by making her go splat. Speaking of the hospital, Robbie is by his son's side, who is now in a coma from Hammerhead wanting him whacked. All I really gotta say is just, poor Robbie, man. But to no one's surprise, Tombstone is back on his feet and is shown the current chaos around New York, which motivates him to get back out there. Then here's my favorite page. She-Hulk and Spider-Man are getting ready to fight these monster things, but just before it all goes down, She-Hulk says, "Are you standing behind me?" For Spider-Man to say, "No." This goes on for the whole page, back and forth. And it's even brought up later, but this is a Spider-Man book, and in said Spider-Man book, he is constantly belittled by everyone he comes to contact with. It's to the point where reading his comics gives me secondhand embarrassment. Anyway, Janice is planning some big moves to win this gang war until her dad Tombstone drops by for a surprise. Also, did they randomly just change her design? I mean, this is what she looks like in the setup to gang war, and which I'm pretty sure takes place in a very short amount of time before this issue does. Did she just randomly decide to get braids before she goes off to kill a bunch of people? Shit, from this angle, she has a completely different facial structure. But Zeb Wells and Nick Lowe clearly don't care, so why should I care? Tombstone is now a cuck, just like Peter, and Janice girl bosses him around, which results in her now being in charge. That's so sad. They really ruined Tombstone. Somehow Hammerhead is still alive. I say somehow like he hasn't died several times already. But Madame Mass drags him down to a secret place with secret people, which we can't know about yet because suspense, I guess. And to end this boring-ass story, Tombstone teams up with Spidey once again to take on mob bosses. Jesus, that was painfully bad. It's like Zeb Wells just has straight up zero interest in writing Spider-Man. This entire event seems to be more about the criminals, especially Tombstone and Beetle, than Spider-Man. And previous arcs felt like they were more about Norman Osborn and so on. A huge aspect of the good old Spider-Man stories was his life as Peter Parker. You know, keeping up with his job, maintaining his relationship with friends, Aunt May, and his wife Mary Jane, while also continuing to grow up and become the man he's supposed to be. That just all now feels lost forever. I mean, when's the last time we've seen a proper story about Peter Parker? In the few pages that Spidey is the center of attention here, the entire team that he assembled just pretty much ignores him and goes off to do their own thing. And Wells writes Peter as if he's scared to get into a fight against a bunch of regular goons. It's just such a weird way to write the star of your comic book series. Instead of being given the honor to write ASM, Wells should have just been given the Gold Goblin miniseries, and then maybe another run of Deadly Foes of Spider-Man, whatever. I think everyone involved would be better off if things played out like that. Speaking of the team, why the hell did we not get to see Peter recruiting Daredevil and She-Hulk? I feel like that's a pretty important thing to just gloss over, because it generally went from him saying to Luke Cage, I need a team, and to then, he has a team. Anyways, this wasn't good at all, obviously. I didn't mind JRJ's art in this one. It's definitely one of his better work on this title so far. I just failed to see how this event is going to last all the way through to March. That seems like a ridiculously long time to tell what easily should be a pretty simple and straightforward story. And shit, can you imagine when Ultimate Spider-Man comes out next month? That's going to be midway through this story. It's just going to be the final nail on the coffin. Plus, I'm super confused with the new beef between Miles and Peter which Zeb Wells introduced. It's totally unnecessary and makes zero sense, especially because there was no sign or indication of resentment towards Peter from Miles in any of the previous stories. In fact, they got along perfectly fine in Judgment Day tie-in, which Zeb Wells wrote, for God's sake.
You had one job. Just the one?
Anyway, just please don't buy this book. Seriously, it's not worth it. They don't deserve your hard-earned cash. They know about how much fans hate them, but do they care? Well, no, of course not. This is like the third or so letters page in a row where Lowe calls out fans for apparently misreading Paul's part of the story. Are we not reading it right, or are you just making shitty stories? I'm sick of this editorial team that constantly ignores and belittles fans of the book, but not only that, for the entire volume, Spider-Man is just a shadow of his former self, and I'm so sick of it. You can barely call him a hero at this point. But man, I just miss Spider-Man, you know? Like, the Spider-Man? The one who captured all our hearts, the one who taught us so many valuable lessons, the one who was supposed to always be there for us. Where is he gone? Will he ever come back? I guess only time will tell. But that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe, because here, any support means so much. I'd love to hear what you guys think of this issue down below in the comment section. We can start a conversation. Be sure to tune in next time for more Spider-Man content on the way. Same web time, same web channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and see you in the next one.